Okay, we're live now. Good evening. My name's Art Sprue. I'm Chair of the Planning Board. This is the Town of Chatham Planning Board hybrid meeting, March 9th, 2026, and it's 5 p.m. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, including the use of AI note-taking apps, please notify the chair. I don't see anybody. Pursuant to the Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 643-030-528 hashtag, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link on the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. I'll begin with a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Present.
Bob Werschafter.
Present.
Frank Shear.
Present.
Bob Dubas.
Present.
Charlene Greenhall.
Present.
I think Catherine is absent. And Art Sprue, I am present. Let's begin with the minutes from February 9th. Do I have any comments, Frank?
Just one very small comment on the page number 3. On the next to the last paragraph, the paragraph beginning the board discussed. 4 lines for the bottom, the line beginning for up to, which will provide more light. I would delete more and insert warmer.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 9th?
Warren Chain, so moved.
And a second?
Frank Scherer, I'll second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Approve.
Bob Werschafter.
Approve.
Frank Shear.
Approve.
Bob Dubas.
Abstain.
Charlene Greenhall.
Approve.
And Art Sprue, abstain too. All right, next item on the agenda. Oh, before I go there, is there anyone on the board who needs to recuse himself from any item on the agenda? Bob?
The town transfer station.
Yes, and I also will be recusing myself from the town transfer station. That's the next item on the agenda, 97 Sam Ryder Road, site plan approval, and our vice chair will chair this meeting, and Bob and I will recuse ourselves.
Good evening, all. This, as Art said, is a continuation of site plan approval for 97 Sam Ryder Road. It is a continuation from February 9th, 2026. And do we have the applicant or his or her representative here to explain? And by the way, thank you so much for really taking into account the discussion that we had. You've made a lot of changes for the positive, so thank you.
So we do have the DPW director here in person, and then we also have the engineer who is on remote, in case you can't see him. Okay.
So if Rob's there, if he wants to say anything, feel free to jump in, Rob. Otherwise, I can get started on my end, running through the changes.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I was just going to kick off. We really tried to take the comments that were made at the previous meeting seriously and try to incorporate as many of those as we could. But I won't keep Nick from doing the presentation.
Thank you, Rob. All right, I will share my screen and run through the changes. I just want to start off by saying thank you to the board. The comments we received on February 9th were very helpful. I'm just going to do a quick run through of those, and then I can open it up to any additional questions from the board. So this is the revised site layout plan that was submitted. I'll start off on the east side of the site at the entrance and work my way west. So one of the first changes we made was relocating the proposed license plate reader system camera pole closer to the facility entrance. This way we can ensure that we capture all vehicles entering and exiting the facility. As vehicles drive into the facility, one comment that we wanted to address was allowing access to the swap shop earlier on, as opposed to having folks drive all the way through the recycling area in order to access the swap shop. So we've added signage right as the users drive into the facility, which will direct swap shop only users to use the left lane. We've added a left turn arrow here, as well as signage in the median that will direct folks to stop and then take a left-hand turn into the new swap shop area. We've also added a stop sign and a stop bar for traffic that's exiting the facility, traveling east, to facilitate that safe left-hand turn. The swap shop area itself has been increased quite a bit. We now have 17 parking spaces, including one ADA compliant parking space. There's plenty of room for any cars that want to drive in and just do a quick drop off. And we've expanded the operational space as well. So we've added 800 square feet of grassed exterior storage space. And then we've increased this operational space here to allow room for a dumpster, as well as a second swap shop shed to copy the existing conditions, as there are 2 sheds out there right now. Our signage plan also shows do not enter signs at the entrance to the swap shop to prevent folks from accidentally driving out the wrong way. So they'll be directed to drive out on the right side here. As we move west, another change we made was reducing the employee parking area. This was a cost-saving measure, and the DPW also anticipates transfer station users to continue using the existing employee parking area, which is north of the tipping building. There's plenty of spaces up there right now, but these additional 6 spots will still provide convenient parking as needed. As another cost-saving measure, we're proposing to remove the shade tree that was initially proposed here as part of our initial application. Moving west, we have added a call out for a dumpster on one of the landscaped areas up by the tipping building. This location can be changed by transfer station staff as needed. There's plenty of landscaped areas around here for that dumpster to be placed. Now going down to the residential drop-off area in the southwest side of the site. So one of the first changes you'll notice is that we've added in angular parking on both the east and the west side. As I mentioned during the February 9th hearing, if the town wants to remove this stripe parking in the future, there'll be plenty of space to remove it and add in 2 pull-in lanes if needed. The angular parking has 2 ADA compliant parking spaces on either side. Each ADA compliant space has a ADA access aisle, which lines up with our proposed curb cuts. The parking spaces also have a concrete wheel stop at the front of each one. On the west side of the recycling area, we added in an additional pedestrian safety feature based on a comment from the board. We've bumped out the proposed concrete sidewalk, which connects into a crosswalk here. And the crosswalk will allow safe pedestrian passage to this southwest side of the site where we have proposed sheds and bins for waste oil, charitable redemptions, food waste, universal waste, paint, and then bins for clothing and book donations. So once pedestrians cross over this crosswalk, there will be it's roughly 6 to 7 feet wide pedestrian walking area, which is protected from vehicle traffic by a proposed wooden vehicle guardrail. That guardrail will have periodic breaks as needed so that this drive lane here can continue to be used. So if, for example, somebody just has a bag of clothing that they want to donate, they could pull up, park their car, jump through that little break in the guardrail, drop off their items, hop back in their car, and be on their way. We also had some extra space down on this south side here, so we added in 3 parallel parking spaces as well. We've beefed up the signage here for pedestrian safety purposes, which is shown on our signage plan, which I can jump to now. As I worked my way over there, we made some minor updates to the grading and drainage sheets. The real main updates that we made were over at the swap shop area in order to increase the size of this area without encroaching on the wood waste disposal area, which is below the composting space here. We've cut into an existing slope, so we show the grading for cutting into that slope. Based on what we've seen for subsurface conditions elsewhere on the site, we anticipate this being relatively high quality sand and gravel fill that, provided it meets geotechnical requirements for the project, would be reused as fill for this embankment over here. The drainage has largely remained the same. One small tweak that we made to the drainage plan was removing a leach and catch basin, which was initially proposed in a low point right here. That's now going to be pavement that will be sloped to the southwest. So runoff will either be collected in a leach and catch basin on the north side of the swap shop area, or it will sheet, or it will follow existing drainage patterns down into the detention basin. Then getting into our signage plan, as I mentioned at the start, we improved the signage up in this part of the site here to direct folks into the swap shop area. We modified this proposed sign here, as I mentioned, indicating to use the left lane as folks enter the facility if they'd like to use the swap shop. And then we added in the median sign here, swap shop to the left. And then the proposed, pedestrian signage at the recycling area. We're proposing 2 permanent signs on either side of the crosswalk, which will be slow pedestrian crossing signs. These will be placed on either side to make it very clear that there's a crosswalk ahead. But we're also proposing right in the middle of the crosswalk. I'm sure you've all seen something similar. It's a ballast mounted sign. This image wasn't in the submission. I just copied it in for just to show folks an example of what this note here is referring to. These signs really help slow down vehicle traffic around crosswalks. It's an actual physical sign that sits there. It's ballast mounted, so it's easy to remove for snow removal activities, and then can be placed back in the middle of the crosswalk. And then the final updates that we made to the submission, we're just updating our vehicle movement plans. There really were no major changes here. We just wanted to show that there are no issues associated with this modified layout. So we have vehicle movement plans for a typical refuse truck, the largest ladder truck that the Chatham Fire Department has, as well as a passenger vehicle movement plan, which also shows this left-hand turn into the proposed swap shop area. So that sums up the changes that we had, so I could open it up to any questions from the board.
Thank you, Nick. Do any of the board members have any questions? As I can't see you.
This is Warren. I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Warren.
All right. Not sure to whom to direct this, but it isn't expressly stated, but I assume that when you have the license plate reader system in place, that someone who is not eligible to utilize the facility will be stopped by somebody who is in the shed by the scale and asked to turn around, correct?
That's correct. Whether they actually are able to physically stop them or call on the radio for assistance to have somebody else within the facility be able to respond.
But it would be the shed by the scale, which is where there would be a person who would be made aware by an alarm or something if someone is not eligible to be driving in?
Correct. There's a screen that monitors the license plate numbers, and it
Yep.
gives them all kinds of information.
A question, how would a person who is not eligible to use the swap shop be turned around, since they wouldn't ever get to the shed by the scale?
Well, again, that plate would come into the scale house. We'd be able to determine whether they're an eligible user, and then we can go and follow through with the swap shop.
Okay.
Make sure that they
So
are not.
That's excellent. Another question, first, a very laudatory comment. I can't believe the amount of positive changes that were made on such a short time frame, being responsive to virtually every comment I heard made by the board. I mean, it's really wonderful. My comments, given that I'm not a builder, were mostly focused on the swap shop, and everything that I mentioned has certainly been brought into this plan. However, I'm also aware that I don't even know who operates the swap shop. And I'm hoping that the town or you had received some input from the people who operate it as to whether the current plan is better or worse than what they had, and whether it meets any significant wants that they may have offered up if given the opportunity. Was there any input from the operators?
Not from this latest plan. The DPW determines what space is usable for them. I'm sure if we built them a warehouse, they would be more than accommodating. But we need to strike a balance with the amount of materials that they take in. We have to discard a lot of materials. People bring in things that they may not want to pay a transfer station fee, so they use it almost as a dumping ground, and we have to vet that. So
No, I
it's a
understand that.
manageable size for us to manage.
No, I'm well aware of that. It's the old days when there was nobody there and nobody abused the swap shop and left their trash there. Those are behind us. I understand that, but given that what is there in the new plan is essentially replicating what's already being used space-wise, pretty much. And I was just curious to make sure that the people who operate the swap shop were happy or unhappy, and we had some input as to what they might have said they'd like to have, or talking about issues. It's very comforting to hear that it's not going to be the people in the swap shop who are going to be there to police who is allowed to drive in there, because I don't think they want to do that, the volunteers, and I don't think they're necessarily equipped to do it either. But those are my only questions, and other than to say, gee, I think everything that is with respect to the recycling area is a dramatic improvement, and totally endorse it. Thank you.
Bob, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I want to echo that this is really amazingly well done response. The only additionals, I like the parking, the pedestrian strip. I might suggest a sleeping policeman be put in just before it to slow people down, because people are not expecting to have pedestrians walking across that spot. So this would be a way to slow them down before they got there. But other than that, I don't know what we call sleeping. I learned that in Jamaica, and I always called it that.
Frank, do you have anything?
Only to second what's been said earlier about the update to the plan. It's very, very good. Thank you.
And I echo everything everybody else just said. Christine, did you have anything that you wanted to share with the board regarding this?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience or online who would like to ask any questions or make comments?
I am not seeing
Fine.
any hands, and I'm not seeing anybody taking any interest in the,
Okay.
Audience.
Based on that, just in the staff report that Christine did, and great staff report, I thank you so very much. There are 5 proposed conditions. The first is just the actual site plan itself and the set of plans outlining each of those. The second is a certification by licensed professional that all site work is completed in compliance, etc. Number 3, all exterior lighting shall be downward casting and shall be designed so as not to illuminate areas off the property. Boy, if that happens, that's really bright. 4, an as-built plans required to be submitted. And 5, a complete set of set of plans to the planning board for inclusion in the property file at the necessary time. So based on that, I would entertain a motion to approve the site plan application with the conditions I just outlined for the proposal for the town-owned transfer station redevelopment project, because the application meets the necessary requirements and criteria for approval pursuant to the protective zoning bylaw with the conditions as previously stated.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Okay, roll call vote. Warren,
Approve.
Bob,
Approve.
Frank,
Approve.
Charlene, approve. You have 4 votes in favor, none opposed. Therefore, this site plan approval is approved.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And now I will turn it back to Art, who will make his way back up to the front of the room. And I will sign off as the acting chair. Thanks, gentlemen and lady.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion item, 79 Forest Beach Road. Do I have someone from the applicant? If you could come up and introduce yourself and tell us what you're thinking.
Good afternoon, Bill Riley on behalf of Eastwood Companies. And Dave Clark is here as the surveyor, engineer, if you have any questions for him. So the reason we're here is that we would prefer to access what I would call the southern lot here from Forest Beach Road, rather than Bobby's Lane. The combination of Bobby's Lane and Kitty's Lane is are less than ideal, and the Forest Beach Road can certainly handle the traffic that's required. And this would be just a single entrance off of Forest Beach Road for the 2 lots. So we're reducing access points. So the so
It's not the right plan, not the best plan.
well,
Not bringing it back to.
it's the one he gave me today. It's the one he gave me today.
Excuse me, they need you to go up, and if you're going to speak, you need to go up to the microphone and introduce yourself.
All right, well, this is,
The one in your hand is right. The one in your hand is right, but it's not the one that's being shown.
oh, well, ignore that one.
Okay, well, that's fine.
We gave you ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We're
but-
good.
Yeah, we're good. But
So
the
we would like to
public doesn't
Yeah.
get to
see
I wasn't
that,
even looking at I wasn't looking there, I was looking here, so I
Right, I saw
apologize.
that.
So-
Thank you, Bob.
the plan that is up there is the plan that was approved by the planning board in 2025, and it was recorded. So that is what is at the Registry of Deeds right now.
Right.
We
We have
also
a
have,
copy of the plan we can share.
we do have
So
the
I can
other
see
plan
what-
that they proposed as part of their building permit application, and Annie is going to put that one up now instead. But again,
Thank you so
that
much.
is not the subdivision that has been approved at this point.
That's a full-size Charlene, isn't it?
Yeah.
If I move back, I can't see because I have bifocals.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
So that is the plan that I took off of the building permit application page.
Right. And that's what we passed out this afternoon as well. So the road covenant that was approved with the plan required the construction of Pierce Path, and we prefer not to have to construct it because we think the better access is off of Forest Beach Road. And so, so that's the purpose of our discussion tonight.
Okay, so this has been before the board, this site goes back to 2022?
You too, that is correct.
Yeah, so we've had multiple approaches that were done by the previous owner and the previous engineer. One of the things that they were trying to do is provide an access off of Forest Beach Road. Well, right now, there is no access for any property off of there. So we went through a long process of, well, we're going to have to put a way in there and all of that, and it was just a very difficult process to do. They did propose something like this before, but it was essentially what we looked at as a board back in 2022 is it's a panhandle lot. That's I'm not sure which lot number it is, but it's the one that's furthest to the north. That's a panhandle lot. And
Lot 5.
yeah, and you're trying to, pardon me?
Lot 5.
It's Lot 5, yeah. And you're trying to put a panhandle lot off of a panhandle lot. And if you take a look at the bylaws do not allow that. And so the board was against that before, and from what I know right now, we can see what the board likes to do, but we're not interested. And again, since it's actually in the bylaws, not even in our rules and regulations, that you're not allowed to do that. So the applicant revised the plan, and he came up with this approach that was approved, and it's been registered. I think it was in November of 2025. So that is what finally the arrangement that was made and is approved. So if you're going to do something, you would have to amend that subdivision plan that has been filed.
David Clark, for the record.
Yeah.
So we're not proposing to change the subdivision.
Okay.
We understand the bylaw, there's no provision in the bylaw to have a panhandle off a panhandle. That's not what we're proposing. We're proposing to have a driveway off of Forest Beach Road to provide access to this lot. The lot will still accrue its frontage from Pierce Path. So we're not proposing to do away with Pierce Path. What we're proposing is not to construct the road.
Which road are you talking about?
Pierce Path.
Well, that was a big reason why we had pushed for resolving the issues in here. And we want Pierce Path to be fixed and resolved as part of this. So that was a big pushback by our board back then. It's something that does have to be resolved. There's flooding there. There needs to have some resolution there, some improvements. And so that was what was finally agreed to by the previous applicant and what the board agreed to.
Yes,
So I don't know if I don't think that's ever going to go away from the long deliberations that we had even last year.
What, to improve Bobby's Lane?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that, that seems to me to be an appropriate job for the municipality.
It was part of the approval of the subdivision. Okay.
Oh.
So that was, I mean, we can see what some of the other board members have to say, but I'm just trying to give you a background of what we deliberated on and discussed with the previous applicant and what we resolved to do. And a big issue was to get the flooding and all of that addressed on Bobby's Lane.
Which is not caused by the applicant.
They wanted to have a buildable lot there. They were creating this. That was the resolution that was agreed to by both parties.
Well, our position is we required to construct Pierce Path and improve Bobby's Lane. It would never be used by the applicant. Because they will put a driveway in off of Forest Beach Road as access to this lot.
And we rejected that approach.
Well, we don't need your permission to create a driveway.
Well, one of the things that we didn't, we found real challenging off of Forest Beach Road is there's a parcel A and then there is an easement, supposedly an easement there, but there was no record in the registry associated with it. So it's a real challenge of even having a driveway because the current driveway isn't even on the parcel A property.
Correct.
So it's not even an accessible piece for Lot 5. There was a lot of challenges to resolve that whole issue, building an improvement for the driveway. Couldn't come to a resolution with the previous applicant.
All right, well, what we're saying is our preferred access is off of Forest Beach Road. If we're required, if the planning board is not going to budge and require Pierce Path to be constructed and Bobby's Lane to be improved, most likely it won't be used by the applicant. They will take access off of Forest Beach Road.
Well, again, that was something that was rejected by this board. There needed to be improvements that had to be done at Forest Beach Road. That we went down this pathway multiple times, and essentially, the applicant and our board couldn't come to a resolution on it, so therefore they abandoned the approach.
Right, understand that. But if Pierce Path is constructed, Bobby's Lane is improved, we get released from the covenant, from the planning board, the house gets built, the applicant can put a driveway in from Forest Beach Road. They have a right to do that. It's their property. They have frontage on Forest Beach Road, 20 feet of frontage. They can put a driveway in.
Now,
There's a driveway in
Lot 6 doesn't have frontage off of Forest Beach Road.
It doesn't need frontage off of Forest Beach Road to have a driveway.
May I say something?
Yeah, please.
There were, in the file, there were some concerns with the status of Forest Beach Road
You have to
itself.
speak up, Christine, could you?
I said in the files, there was an issue with regard to Forest Beach Road. So unless you're going to bring that up to regulation, we have to start somewhere. So that wasn't going to be brought up. So that was one of the reasons why this came about. And then, so technically, the first lot there with the smaller house has a driveway off of Forest Beach Road. Forest Beach Road does not meet the requirements, like I said. So then you're going to have a driveway off of a driveway. And that's what we can't have happen. That is
I
according
don't think
to,
you have control over that.
they don't have an opportunity to waive the regulation with regard to the panhandle.
No, we understand that, and we're not proposing two panhandles. The frontage for Lot 4 is going to be Pierce Path.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there, but again, Forest Beach Road itself is not up to the standards that it needs to be at to have anything come off of there. I guess some of the, you could come back with another option of getting for that portion of Forest Beach up to where it needs to be.
Well, what?
And then coming
what are the
something off of
deficiencies? Nobody's, the problem is, the prior applicant apparently, I don't know what his motivation was, but what are the deficiencies on Forest Beach Road?
There's site distance-related issues, there's lots of obstructions in that access. We wanted a significant number of improvements for that to happen, and the applicant decided that they didn't want to go there. All I can tell you is that's what it was rejected, what you proposed before. You can file again with us, but I'm not sure you're going to get anything different, but this has been going around for now it's going on 4 years now with this site.
So we're not-
Is it any of the other board members like to comment on this any further? I mean,
Around here. I think you're doing a pretty good job.
My name is Bill Marsh, and I'm the owner of the property, and I'm looking for a pointer. Does
Mr.
anybody have
Chairman.
one?
Right here.
yeah, Charlene, you have a comment?
You
Old-fashioned
do
one.
this, you do this.
Okay.
If they want to make these changes, they need to come back with a modification or amendment of the plan. I think you spoke very clearly what our concerns have been in the past,
Right.
Mr. Chairman, and
Yep.
I think most of us still have those.
Yep.
So if they do want to do this, they need to file the proper plan and bring it before this board properly, not just as an informal discussion.
Yep. Yep.
Can I start again? I didn't know Christine was talking.
Yeah, Christine is remote. She's our vice chair.
I'm Christine, that is Charlene, she's the
Charlene,
vice chair.
Charlene.
So,
Go ahead, Mr. Marsh.
I just would like to approach this from the same way I approached it when the land came up for sale, and that is what I think is just some basic common sense. So, how does that thing go?
Push the button.
So this lot was brought to me by a broker as a buildable lot, this lot on Bobby's Lane. And I became enthused about building a house there. The deal kind of fell apart, and then somebody else had it under agreement, and then that fell apart. And then I started to think about, I didn't realize it at the time, but this house also was for sale at the same time. And I did not know, or was I familiar with, any of the procedure that you're talking about, Art, that went on for 4 years. And David knew a little bit about it, having been a local engineer. But we were not a part of that and didn't really have any defined knowledge about it. So when I rekindled my interest in buying this lot as a buildable lot, and then this lot here came up for sale, and we've been looking for a lot or a situation, prospective situation that would be good for my son John, who now has a family with 2 little twin girls. And they live in an area that I'm not happy about. I think it's unsafe. So I realized that this might be for sale, so I offered to buy this and this together. Now, as I started to look at the lot on Bobby's, there is, in Walcott, there's a 24-foot elevation difference between this part of this lot and the rear part of this lot. The fronts that gained, through your approval, gained its frontage on Bobby's Lane. And it backs up to the town tennis court right here. But there's a 24-foot change in elevation from 40 feet down to 16 feet. So I thought, geez, it's going to be really difficult to access it off of Bobby's and kind of climbing up a hill here. So I thought, gee, wouldn't it be good if we could get an access over this, there's an existing easement here, and get an access across this easement, and then construct a driveway down to Bobby's Lane such that the front of the house would face the driveway, and the rear of the house could be a walkout situation, when we are showing a pool, that kind of thing. And as I started to look into it, the requirements to improve this Pierce's Path, or whatever it's called, really onerous and very, very expensive, somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000. So I thought, gee, maybe if we could get access to a house site here with this driveway, wouldn't that be a better plan for building a house here and working with this house? So that's really the reason we're here, is to see if there would be any enthusiasm on the part of the board to approach this whole thing with some common sense and do that. If I'm hearing for the first time, and I used to play tennis on this Kitty's Lane, we used to call it Kitty's Lane Tennis Court, town court, and I don't ever remember a flooding drainage situation here, but in fact, if there is, we would be happy to pay for and install whatever David says would be appropriate for drainage in this area to solve this. But we would like to get some kind of modification waiver. I'm not sure what David and Bill, as the legal guys on this thing, would say, but we'd like to get a waiver of the construction of this thing and approach this house from this direction. I think Charlene said we'd need to file a modification or some kind of a plan for your consideration. I can see you've run out of patience with the long time that it took to get to wherever it is these days, but I was hoping you might be able to see the common sense in this, and that we might be able to go forward with that. If we could have an informal vote tonight that says you don't want to consider it, fine, we'll figure out something else to do with this property. But that we're here today in an informal basis to see what you folks think. Thank you.
All right, so I guess the thing for your consideration really is, I mean, Art mentioned that there's a drainage problem down where the Pierce's Path would be. And because of the impracticality of having the house being, 20 feet above the road, having any sort of decent access off of Bobby's Lane, that, we would take care of the drainage problem. We can do that. There at the intersection of Pierce Path, Kitty's and Bobby's Lane. But, the access from Bobby's Lane is so impractical that it would simply never, ever be used. And so forcing the construction of that way that's never going to be used means it's just going to crumble up in a number of years, be, just pieces of asphalt laying on the ground, because if you don't use a way, as I'm sure you're aware, the asphalt won't stay together. So forcing an impractical access to the property that's never going to be used, where the house is 20 feet above the street, I don't see that maintaining your position confers any benefit on the situation. Your concern, what you started out with, is there's a drainage problem there at Pierce's Path. So we can solve the drainage problem, but you can't solve the 20 feet of grade change. And so there's never going to be an access to a single-family house up that hill. So I think that, I'd ask you to reconsider. We weren't part of the original application. The previous applicant was not a real estate developer. I know he was an engineer, but, he was not a real estate developer. Didn't see the impracticality of the agreement he reached with you. So now we have experienced people who know how to develop real estate, and they say, because of the difference in grade, that access is simply never going to be used. And so, I guess, forcing the construction of that is never going to be used when we can solve the drainage problem without constructing the way.
I think I summed it up, and Charlene summed it up also. If you want to propose something different than what was approved and what has been registered, then you're going to have to file a modification for that and submit it before our board. All right,
I understand that, but I guess,
It seems like the practical thing.
But I can take a straw poll from the board, but we voted against, this board voted against this several times, and we would not accept this approach previously. Okay, so this was the resolution of it that the applicant proposed. It was accepted by the board and it was voted, and now it's been recorded at the Registry of Deeds as of November of last year.
Mr. Chair, you do have the Vice Chair, Charlene.
Oh, Charlene,
Over here.
yes, go ahead, Charlene.
You just reiterated what I was going to say. This board right now cannot waive any construction of anything that was proposed and approved and recorded on a previous plan. The only way to do that is for a modification of the plan. If you can come back and show a different reason why it should have access the way you're proposing, and you can convince the board that it's not a panhandle and that there is safe, adequate out to Forest Beach Road for all the properties involved, then you have the opportunity to do that as a modification of this previously approved plan. That's the only way we can do it. This board cannot act tonight on what you're asking for. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the board just cannot. It's an approved plan with approved construction, and the only way to do that is with a revised plan, notification to the abutters, and a public hearing.
I agree. I've just, the reason why Bill wanted an informal discussion was to talk about the impracticality of accessing a single-family residence up that steep hill. And so, I understand that we have to come back with a plan, and that's the goal. In fact, Bill's staff told him, let's just prepare a plan. But he thought, well, rather than just show up with a plan, we wanted to come in and let you know what our thought process is, so that we're all at least understanding, where the property owner is coming from.
Your approaches that you're offering or suggesting here has been under consideration by this board. It dates back to 2022. It was rejected. It was flat out rejected. So that's what I can tell you is where we are. There's history with these two parcels, all right? It's just where you are.
Sounds like
You need to go through the process if you want to modify it, and I'm not sure it's going to be favorable.
We're happy to propose a modification plan as we're talking about. As far as the recording at the registry and all that kind of thing, I'm not a lawyer, this guy is.
Right.
But it's my understanding you can expunge things and do a modification, and I think if you guys could see, at least see the common sense in this application and this thought that I have, then you might be able to get there. Maybe you can't, I don't know, but we would like to try.
So your other option is you can start with a preliminary plan, a preliminary application to the planning board.
Sure.
So that you don't have to give the full level of detail.
Right.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Bill, I'd like to give you a little talk. We looked at
This bill or that bill? And it's not even the first of the month.
Even both of you. Now, there's easements going into the first house on the right from
Forest Beach.
Forest Beach.
Right.
Okay, there's easements going over there, and the easements go right up to the person's half through their yard. This easement was given to the back house, which was one whole lot for them only, so that they could go through there. They were neighbors and stuff, and they let the guy put the house on there. They did all their things. Now, in order to make that a viable road, it doesn't work because they split the lot. The access to that lot is down off of Bobby's Lane. And you can't tell me that if there's a 25-foot drop, that you can't get a driveway in there, because if you go around this here, in Chatham, Howard, anywhere around, you'll see that people drive up and down lots. What this guy should have done, and make it a little easier on him, is he took the big lot, which is the empty lot, and put it on with the little house so he could put a brand-new house on there. And instead of leaving the little house with a little lot, he would have had more room to work with. So that's, if you own both lots, I would take and make the little house lot smaller and put the bigger one where you want to build a house. That's why we voted it for it, and then we had to vote against it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Well, Bobby, that's good advice, but to be clear on the easement thing, we own this piece right here. I think it's called parcel A or something.
Parcel A, yeah, it's 20 feet wide,
That
yeah.
is not wide enough.
Yeah.
It's a small driveway. It's for one house. He got it.
Well, no, that house that's here is the way you get to this small house here, this bungalow-style house, is you come in over this driveway.
And over his yard.
Over his
And
yard.
over his yard. But if we can relocate the driveway here, along this strip here, there's
not
plenty of room for that.
There's not enough room.
Well, there is.
How much room do you want?
12 feet.
Oh,
We could go 12 feet right along here easily.
no, it doesn't work. If now you're trying to take a panhandle lot and make it another panhandle lot. And the town wanted to put an 8-inch water main through those two lots and down to Bobby's Lane. That was on the first.
And
plan.
there's an
Well, the
easement.
8-inch water main
Yeah.
discussion is a whole nother place
I
to
know,
go.
that was on the original plan.
Well, the water company told me that if we could do there's a 2-inch line here that services multiple houses. And the water company said, if you can show us that there's good water pressure to serve this house in this short distance, that'll be okay. But if it's not okay, then they want an 8-inch main on Bobby's, and then you got to get everybody to say okay to that and switch everybody's service over.
They also wanted to come from Forest Beach with another 2-inch main to connect them. And we have the plan right here that shows it.
Yeah. Well, what we'd like to do, unless you
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, point of order.
Yes, go ahead, Sharon.
We're getting into things that would be discussed at the time of either a preliminary plan or a modification of the plan. I think we've given guidance to the applicant, not that there's an application, but for the informal discussion, what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think Charlene is right. I think you should go back, recaucus, see what you want to do, and come back with a formal plan.
So we should do a modification, Art?
Modification, you can come forward with a preliminary, and we can review and address the preliminary and see if we can support it.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Where does this go, up here? Stay here, Bill?
Yep. Okay, next we have a public hearing. This will be a public hearing for Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, adoption of the change of zoning ordinance bylaw for the accessory dwelling unit. Normally, our clerk will read this. He's got a hoarse voice today, so I'll read the legal notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Mass General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 5, the Chatham Planning Board will hold a hybrid public hearing on Monday, March 9th at 5 p.m. at the Town Office Annex Large Meeting Room, 261 George Ryder Road, and via Microsoft Teams to take public comments on the following proposed amendments to the protective zoning bylaw. To see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Chatham protective zoning bylaws with respect to accessory dwelling units as follows: by replacing the definition of dwelling unit, accessory ADU, in Section 2 of the zoning bylaws with the following: dwelling unit accessory ADU is an attached or detached dwelling unit that is accessory to the principal dwelling and is otherwise defined in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 1A, and 760 CMR 71, as may be amended and as further defined in Section 7B19. And by replacing Section 7B19 of the zoning bylaws entirety with the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, and to amend the table of use regulations attached to the zoning bylaws so as to conform to the foregoing amendments. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28, 2025 signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until June 30th, 2027. This meeting of the Chatham Planning Board is being conducted in person and via remote participation. I guess we have to repeat this again. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 508-945-4410, conference ID 643-030-528, hashtag, or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, Xfinity Channel 1072, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of the meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. Any person interested in wishing to be heard on this zoning proposal may call the following teleconference number to join the hearing. Calling number is 1-508-945-4410. Conference ID is 643-030-528. Hashtag, the full text of the proposed protective zoning bylaw amendment can be found on the town's website. It's, okay. I'd like to just walk through the process of our procedures for the public hearing. First, read in the legal notice. Next, there's a presentation. It's going to be by the applicant, and Christine will be doing that presentation. The board will go through, have comments and questions associated with the application first. Then there's a public statements in favor of the application. Next step will be the chair reads any correspondence. Then after that, there'll be public statements opposing the application, any rebuttal, board comments, and then finally the hearing will be closed and the board will deliberate. After the hearing closes, audience participation is not permitted during deliberations. So, Christine, if you could walk us through
Very good.
this bylaw.
I'm over here tonight just to practice what I'm going to be giving to the Select Board and the Finance Committee next week. So we'd like to start by just telling you what an accessory dwelling unit is. Basically, it's a self-contained unit exclusive of sleeping, housing, sanitary facilities on the same lot as a principal dwelling. The actual application goes on to say that it's subject to or otherwise applicable dimensional and parking requirements, and that maintains a separate entrance, either, sorry, my notes don't go that far down. Either directly from the outside or through an entry hall or corridor shared with the principal dwelling sufficient to meet the requirements of the building and fire code for safety egress. ADUs may be attached, detached, or internal to the principal dwelling unit. Chatham has had ADUs in the bylaw since 2019, and you also had done an amendment in 2022. That being said, the Chatham's bylaw was overruled basically by the state-approved bylaw of this past February of 2025. So you are now working under the state-approved ADU regulations. The state became involved in this through the Affordable Homes Act, which was passed in 2024. Two of the main components of the Affordable Homes Act were ultimately the Seasonal Communities Bylaw and then the ADU bylaw. Now, they are two separate bylaws, and what it's important to note here is the Seasonal Communities, you accepted the designation last year at town meeting. And we will be bringing a couple of items forward with regard to that for next town meeting next year, which have to be done. But in the meantime, we can start with this ADU piece to get the ADU bylaw to meet the requirements of the state, but also have in it what needs to happen for Chatham. Basically, this slide just kind of shows you some of the things that are, that need to happen. The reason we're doing ADUs is because there is a need for housing. And in a place like Chatham, one of those things is workforce housing, right? We need things for the people who live here. We need year-round housing in particular. As I said to you in the previous slide, can be detached, so they can be like a separate unit like we see here. They can be attached, on top of a garage, that type of thing. But then they can also be interior to the primary structure. Now, that's something different. That's not something, you didn't have that before in your previous bylaw. You didn't have that, and you didn't have the detached. So it's a little bit different now, and we have to have those requirements as part of the state. The purpose of the bylaw, like I was just saying to you, is to provide a range of housing types, right? We want housing for all incomes, whether it's older people, whether it's, young people that are just getting out of college or just getting out of high school and need to move on. We also, need for different family types. Families are not the same as they used to be, so we need to do it for that. So we're trying to do it to accommodate a lot of different things. One of the main purposes of an ADU bylaw also is, affordability, right? We want things that are economically efficient, but we also want things that are energy efficient as well. So this gives you an opportunity to do some of those things. The common buzzwords that they use with regard to this are diversity. We want a diversity of population. We want, young adults and older adults. We don't want to necessarily have all just over 55 in one area and all young people, in another area. We kind of want to mix it up. So that's what's going on here. What happens is there's a process. When you do an ADU, somebody needs to come in and they need to understand what it is. So part of this presentation here tonight is to give the general public an idea of what goes into it. So they need to learn about the process. This is an option, right? Then they need to plan. They need to work with an engineer. They need to work with a developer. They need to, come into the Office of Community Development, go over it. Then they need to go through the permitting process, right? And ultimately, then they need to build. So then they need to go to the building department, and then eventually they would move into such a place. We are proposing in this, we have to have it in accordance with the state regulations. We have to have it in any place where there is single-family residential allowed. So that is our residential districts, but then it also is the small business and the general business districts in this particular case. In accordance with the state guidance, again, so the EOHLC is the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. It has to maintain a separate entrance, so it can't be like I have something which would be considered in my house to be an ADU, but it's not really an ADU because it doesn't have a separate entrance, right? So it needs to have a separate entrance. It could be through a corridor or something like that, like I said to you, but there needs to be a definition, because you're not going to always be with somebody who maybe is part of your family, or, so you're going to want some separate nature for both of you. It can be up to 1/2 the gross floor area of the principal dwelling, or the 900 square feet. So that is in accordance with the state regulations. And why that is important is because we don't want ADUs that are larger or that look out of proportion to the proposed, or the existing dwelling that is on site. So you have to go with whichever is less. And then again, that's to meet, it helps also with the character of the town. It also must meet a lot of the local regulations. And those regulations can't be, absurd or completely out of control. It has to we have to work with the building code, we have to work with the Title V things, those type of things. So this is a breakdown, another way of looking at it. We can impose, as a municipality of Chatham, we can impose reasonable restrictions related to site plan review, Title V, dimensional setbacks, which include bulk and height requirements, and short-term rentals. So those things are important to us. What we cannot do is owner occupancy. We can't mandate that they all be like a family relationship. We can't make that determination because families are not the same as they've always been in the past. We can't require special permit, right? They have to be allowed by right. Or the use of the rental, right? We can't decide. We also can't require more than one parking space for an ADU. Or require that any ADU, which is in 0.5 miles of a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station, to have any parking space. So that is important because when I look up at the state website, the definition of the bus station, it's any place where they embark. So any place where somebody gets on would not have to have, if they're within 0.5 miles of wherever the bus stops are, they don't have to have a parking space associated with it because we're trying to encourage mass transit. This kind of reiterates some of the things I've said. I would say the second bullet down, there is no limit on the number of ADUs that can be built, permitted, constructed, or leased. So that's something I haven't said before. And then there can be no limit on the number of bedrooms or people within a bedroom. That kind of comes into play, though, by Board of Health and building commissioner requirements. The other thing that's new here is there's no minimum lot size required for ADUs. If the principal dwelling already exists on a property, then they can have an ADU. These are basically some more of the same things that I've already said in the previous ones. I would say the third bullet here is an ADU can be in common or single ownership, and it cannot be subject to use or occupancy. And then ADUs do not count in density calculations for some of the things that we do with regard to housing. Over the next couple of weeks, we have the public hearing here tonight. We will be Art and myself will be before the Finance Committee and the Select Board on next Tuesday. The warrant for the town meeting will close on the 24th, and then we will be at town meeting presenting on May 5th. What I have given you tonight is the proposed bylaw, and I gave you an amendment at the start of the meeting. And one of the things that had happened, the reason that you received this amended, and it'll be up on the town website tomorrow, is because late this afternoon, we worked with town council. A few members of community development had been sitting in on a presentation with regard to the state and the executive office that I had spoke to earlier. And it was mentioned there that Eastham had gotten some language approved, which would be maybe of interest to you on the planning board. They approached it as a seasonal community who required more year-round housing. So what we have done, which is different from the actual bylaw that you had in your packet earlier, is we've added under Section C, it had said before that ADUs may not be used for short-term rentals, and that was it. We've now added, in order to address the town's need for year-round housing, an ADU shall be actively rented and/or leased on a year-round basis until such time as an ADU no longer meets the definition of accessory dwelling unit as defined in Section 2 of this protective bylaw. So that is one of the things that Art read at the beginning, what the definition is. And then it goes on to say a one-year waiver may be granted for ADUs that are unable to be rented due to a need for repairs or unforeseen circumstances. So again, that is a change from what everybody has seen up until recently. You don't have to accept this change. I know that there had been a lot of questions and a lot of concerns by the board about short-term rentals and about having more year-round. This was the best that we could come up with. Like I said, it was a last-minute thing. Town council did want me to point out to you that, that upon challenge, if somebody were to challenge this proposed language in the bylaw, it is possible that the bylaw could be overturned by the Attorney General's office. The language that we took came in part from the, like I said, Eastham's bylaw, that they did get approved by the Attorney General's office. I don't know that theirs has been challenged as of yet to see how it plays out, but that is something you could keep in mind. So you could decide whether or not you're comfortable with just the way we had it initially, or whether you want to add this language in. Pretty much what I would say to you is, at the beginning of the bylaw, you know, when we talk about in Section 2 of the bylaw, we talk about what the definition is. That definition came from the state definition. When we look at the purpose of the actual ADU bylaw, so it's Section 19 of Section 7B of your bylaw as it stands now. That's where the old one was. The purpose has basically remained the same. The language is pretty much almost identical. Town council helped us with all of this. The definitions that you're looking at in Section B of that accessory dwelling unit bylaw, those came from the model bylaw that we had received from the state. And again, town council has reviewed all of this, and his only caveat is about this piece that we've added tonight. Then we go into the use schedule, which the use schedule and the dimensional requirements, those are pretty much like the meat and potatoes of the bylaw, if nothing else. ADUs are allowed by a matter of right, as I said to you before, in the residential, and then the small business and the general business zoning districts. One of the determinations that you had made earlier on is that only one ADU is allowed by matter of right on any lot. So we've kept that the same. We did not add in a piece about special permitting for additional ADUs, any of that thing. We also did not add in anything with regard to site plan review. That was something that your old bylaw did not do, so we felt it important to keep it the same, or you felt it important to keep it the same. The Board of Health must have documented to the building commissioner that either sewer connection or available sewer disposal will be satisfactorily provided in accordance with the provisions of Title V and the local Board of Health regulations, including provisions for appropriate reserve, are on site. The principal dwelling unit and the accessory dwelling unit shall meet all wastewater requirements combined for the bedrooms and the wastewater flow. So that will control the number of bedrooms and a thing like I had said to you before. The ADU does not have the minimum, minimum acreage for buildable upland, because it's got to do with the lot, period. And then ADUs shall remain in common or single ownership with the principal dwelling unit. That was something else that you had felt important. Those are pretty much the biggest things here. I know it's a lot. You've been through it many, many times. So I would just say, as you're making your determination tonight on what you want to send forward to the select board, you particularly look at the one thing that I pointed out.
Okay. Next portion is the board questions and comments. The only one I want to throw in early on here is there was two parts to the state law on this. One was the ADU piece, and the other one was seasonal community piece. The ADU state law that was passed, that applies to all 351 cities and towns. So that's carte blanche. Seasonal communities has to do with whether our particular community here in Chatham, if we voted for it. In our case, we did. But the two don't overlap at all. So this applies to all towns and cities, and that's why it was important for us to address this and get that into this year's Maytown meeting. So with that, any other board questions, comments? Warren, I'll start with you.
Christine, just a quick question. Was it Eastham you said that had the AG give an okay to this wording? Which town was it that got the
Oh, I'm
AG's
sorry.
approval?
It was Eastham, and they had gotten the approval from the Attorney General's office.
All right, do you know
What I
when
was
they,
trying-
do you know how long it took after they passed it, before the AG okayed it?
That I do not know. They passed it last year. It usually takes a while to go through the Attorney General's office, because they're reviewing everybody's at roughly the same time.
Okay, thank you. Nothing, no other questions. I'm certainly in favor of the change.
Bob Wershap,
I'm okay.
Frank Shear?
Yeah, the only comment I have is I'm in favor of the additional language.
Bob Dubus?
I'm okay with the way it is as presented.
Okay. Charlene, do you have any comments or questions?
I agree. I'm comfortable with the additional wording that Christine provided for us from Eastham. And also just kind of educational thing, once a zoning bylaw sent to the Attorney General's, they have 90 days to either approve of changes, or totally say, no, you can't do this bylaw. Sometimes they go beyond that 90 days, but generally it is up to 90 days that the AG's office has to review any proposed zoning amendments. Oh, one other thing. I think it's also important that if for some reason the town meeting decides, no, they don't want to approve this, well, we are then mandated to do what it says in the state regulation, with no really local control as to, as Christine said, bulk setbacks, that kind of thing. We lose that control. So it is important that we do have something in place to replace what we already have on the books that is consistent with what the state is requiring, but also has Chatham's little tweaks that we feel are necessary to make this a better bylaw.
Thank you. Christine, Charlene, you summed up my points perfectly. I do agree with the additional language that we have in here.
Just one more.
Yep, go ahead, Bob.
I'm pretty sure our existing bylaw allows detached and in unit.
We did. We added that in the 2022.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say it incorrectly? I might have said it
I
incorrectly.
just want to make sure when
Okay.
you present it to everyone else.
Yeah, we did add that as an
But
amendment
detached
later.
required a special permit, didn't it?
It could have, yeah.
I think detached required a special permit, whereas now it would not.
It's as of right, yes.
So your existing bylaw, which has gone by the wayside at this point, like I must say, again, it is the state right now. So you allowed some things by right and then some things by special permit for one family. You only allowed 10 ADUs per year, period.
Right.
Now there is no limit on the number that it can be built, the number that can be permitted, leased, et cetera. There is no limit. We don't have any control over that.
Okay. Now, next step in the process is public statements in favor of the application. Does anyone would like to come up and speak to this and support? Don't see any hands. Nick?
I am on the
just-
phone, sorry, I'm on the phone, but I'm not in person.
Oh,
so
okay. Well, thank you
not
for
sure what the
speaking up.
protocol is.
Yes, could you give your name, please, so, for the record?
Yes, my name is Betsy Noor.
Okay, Betsy, please make your comments.
Okay. So I believe that I was the first person to go through, once the state law went in place, to build an ADU on my property in Chatham for my 88-year-old mother. And I've had a lot of support, but it has been a very arduous and very, very expensive process to date. I have nothing but good things to say about my, designer, the site planner, legal, my lawyer. The ZBA was very helpful, health department. It has taken me 9 months to actually get approvals in order to make this happen. And again, extremely costly and frankly, for most people, cost prohibitive to be able to get to this point. I do have a building permit in today, waiting for it to be approved. We had to go back to zoning and ended up with a guest house because of your current bylaws, because of various issues between lot size, coverage, mostly setbacks, frankly. And I just hope the town does the right thing because we do need more housing and we need to make it easy and we need to also make sure that it is not cost prohibitive.
Thank you. I think you.
Thank you.
I think you're correct that many of these updates here in this bylaw hopefully will resolve many of the things that you experienced. I see somebody's hand was up and is there anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this? No? Okay. You do. You have to come up and speak, give your name. Yes? We need you to use the microphone so we get you on the record. And just introduce yourself, please.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just was wondering if...
No, could you introduce yourself first, sir?
Pardon me?
You provide your name, please.
Oh, my name is Edward Milmackey.
Yeah.
And I live on 30 Perch Pond Road in Chatham.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, your comment, please.
Can I say what I want?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We just want to know who you are first, that's all.
This is like back in high school. If it goes through all the paces and there's no stops and it goes to the town meeting and that can it be voted down in the town?
It could be voted down at town meeting, but then it would revert back to state law, and we would have none of the provisions that we're proposing here and suggesting for our town to include.
Okay, so if it passes the last step, that's it?
Well, if it passes the last step, it would be 90 days review at the Attorney General's office after May town meeting.
Okay. And can the Attorney General turn it down?
It's very possible, depending on how they review the language. But again, that's why we have review done by our town council, and we do check in with other towns too on how they've see if they've had theirs approved.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Moving on. Any correspondence? Christine, I don't believe we have.
There was no correspondence for the public hearing.
All right. Any public statements opposing the application? I don't see any hands raised. None. No rebuttals. Any other board comments? No. If none, we can then have a motion to close this public hearing.
I move we close the public hearing.
Do I have a
I'll second that.
All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Warren Chain, approve.
Bob Werschafter.
Approve.
Frank Shear.
Approve.
Bob Dubus.
Bob Dubus, proof.
Charlene.
Approve.
On Arts Brew, I approve. Okay, I think, based on what I heard, there was mostly support for the added language that was highlighted here in yellow. If the board has any other comments or anything you want to deliberate on before we take a formal vote on this? No? Charlene, do you want to make a motion for our?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I move that we forward these back to the Board of Selectmen with the amendment as highlighted this evening and recommend these zoning amendments to the town meeting for a positive vote.
And a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren Chain.
Approve.
Bob Werschafter.
Approve.
Frank Shear.
Approve.
Bob Dubus.
Proof.
Charlene Grehal.
Approve.
And Arts Brew, I approve. All right.
So what will happen now is I have a letter prepared that I will have Art sign on behalf of the planning board and who was here. And then I will be sending that to the select board office tomorrow, along with the agenda report that is required and the revised bylaw based on the decision that was made this evening. Okay?
Okay, one other thing, I'm proposing that next meeting, it's the, what's the date on our next meeting? 23rd. The 23rd of March, to use the 4 o'clock time slot for our working session. Again, it's been bumped twice now because of weather. Hopefully, we can get a workshop session on the seasonal community piece. Gloria has updated her memo on this. It'll be very helpful for us to explore this and see how we can move forward with things. There's going to be certain things that we're going to have to, we should be adopting in this coming year for May town meeting in 2027. And so it'll be important for us to flush that out as part of this and understand what are some of those, and Gloria will walk us through all of that.
So the 23rd will now be at 4 o'clock instead of 5?
4 o'clock will be a workshop session and then regular business at 5.
Sounds good.
All right. If there isn't anything else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Mr.
moved.
Chairman, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
And Warren, are you
I
second?
second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Warren?
Approve.
Bob?
Approve.
Frank?
Approve.
Bob?
Approve.
And Charlene? Are you still there?
Approve.
Okay, and Art Spur, I approve. And the time is 6:30. Okay, hard to see.
Thanks, everybody.